Okay guys, welcome back to another game series that we're starting today. Today we're going to be starting a brand new game called Tetris. It's a pretty simple and fun game to play, not necessarily to make, but we're going to try and make it together and see how that goes. Today is just going to be a setup and create some artwork for our game. We're not really going to be doing much in today's episode, so no programming or anything in today's episode. So let's get straight into the program here and see if we can get started. So this is pretty much the artwork that we are going to be using for like thumbnails and stuff. For those of you that don't know, the object of the game is to you have different shapes. So you have all the shapes are made out of these square cube things that look like this. So this is obviously one cube, and 4 of these make up this one square here, and then 3 of them and 1 on the side, which makes a bit like a T, and this is supposed to be like an S, and this is supposed to be like an L, and then you get like an L. So there is I think behind all the different shapes there is a hidden letter. So, and I think in the official game each shape corresponds to like a certain color. So that's what we will be doing in our game, just to make it easier for us to implement. But if you think you can do it and you can randomly implement a color for each shape you want to spawn into the game, go ahead and do that. But today, or in this game, we are just going to assign a color to each letter, and then go from there and see if we can make the game. So let's go ahead and jump into Unity. So far I have created a very blank project. That's not what we want. We want save layout. Okay, we'll leave it like that. But we'll swap this in there and then swap that like that. Okay, so in today's episode, all we're going to do is we are going to be changing a few things in Unity, but other than that, nothing else. We are going to mainly make some artwork in what's this called, Adobe, and we are going to make our squares. So we'll make different blocks and then just assign a color to them, and then we will import them into the Unity editor, and then we will change a few things or a few settings on them so that they hopefully will fit together nicely. And then depending on how long that goes, we might start working on like importing, or what are we gonna do? I've completely forgot. But anyway, let's start and see how far we get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste this, and then I'm going to get rid of all of this. And then what am I doing? Why have I got a magnifying glass? So we want to get rid of that. And now we don't really need this. Actually, just for background purposes, we'll leave it there. So let's go and create a square. And then we want this to be, I think it's 192 by 192. So that's the square that we're going to use. Then we want to assign it some color. So what do we want? The first color to be like a bluish color. So let's choose that, like more like a cyan color, like that. I think we could make it a little bit darker, maybe like that, just so it's not so bright. And then for the border, I think we will add the same color. So we'll get this color, but then we will bring it down a bit so you can see the border, and we'll obviously make the border bigger so we can actually see it. Let's go and say 10 maybe, like that, or maybe let's go and say 8. What does that look like? 9. So we'll make that a little bit darker, maybe like that. Probably something like that. And then we can go and add in some shadow. So in a shadow, I can see what this looks like. So we X and Y is going to be 0, so that's in the middle. And then we want the blur to be about 99, so the full thing. And then we want to make it slightly darker. Actually, let's make it let's make the blur 25. So that looks like no. 25. What do we want? Let's make it 30. Okay, 10. Let's make this dark and see what it's like. Where is that blur? Make that darker. Okay, so we can't really see it. So we'll make this about 80. Let's say about 75. We'll do that, and then we will make the inner shadow slightly lighter so that we can see the border. Actually, let's make the border about 12. Like that. Okay, so that will probably be our one cube. So let's copy that and paste it. And now the only thing we need to do really is to just move this up a little bit so we get a green, or down rather, and so we get a green. Same thing for the border. We want green like that. That's a bit too bright. Let's make it like that. Then we want to do the same thing again, and then we want to change the fill to, I think we need a yellow one as well. So let's try that. And border also like that. Copy and paste that. And then we need, what else color? We need a red one, so we can bring that down over there. That looks a bit dark, and we'll bring that, like, actually that's fine, just border. So we'll copy and paste that again. What else do we need? We need a purple one, so let's go and do that. We'll bring this up here like that, I think, or rather more darker like that. And then the border, we will also bring that up a little bit darker like that, I think. And then what other color do we need? We need, okay, so we've got a red one, we've got a, oh, let's make a dark blue one just in case we need that. We probably won't use all of these, but rather have them and not need them than need them and not have them. So what else do we need? We haven't got an orange one, so just copy and paste that and then make an orange one. So where's orange? Orange is down there. Same thing for the border, make it like that. I'm gonna change the border on this one just because we can't really see it. Make it a little bit lighter like that. Same with the red one. We can't really see this, so we'll make that like that, I think. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of them and change the inner shadow to about 50, just so it looks a little bit better. Okay, so I think that is it for our artwork. So let's see, we've got a yellow one, we've got a red one, we've got a purple, we've got an orange one, yeah. We have got a green one, we do. We have also got a cyan one, and we've got a blue one. So now let's go and create another one. And this is not going to be a box to create a shape, it is rather going to be a box for our grid. So we want this to be like a grayish color. So make this like that, I think. So that should be fine. So let's go and export this. We're going to put this straight into our project. So in our assets, we will create a new folder, and in here we will call this sprites. And then in here we will call this what color was this? I think this was the gray one, and this, we're going to use this for our grid. So we're going to call this our grid. Like that. We'll do the same for this one. Export that. We'll call this one orange. I think that was an that was an orange one. This one is obviously going to be blue. This one is going to be our purple one. This, I don't really like that. I'm going to change the border. It needs to be more red, but lighter. So like that. That's better. We'll export that. Call that red. Gonna do the same with this one. Gonna make that a little bit lighter, but make it more yellow like that. Export that and call that yellow, and then the same with this one. I'm going to change this one as well because it doesn't look that great, so make it a little bit more green, then push it up a little bit like that, I think. I'm going to change the fill as well because yeah, that's green. The other one was still kind of blue. So this is going to be green, and then this one is going to be our cyan one. So let's go and export that one and for this side. Okay, so I think that's all we need. So now that we have those, we can go. Let's go into Unity here and see if they. Yeah. So our sprites are now here, and we have our what's called our cubes. So this is our cube, and that looks pretty good. Hopefully it's the right size. I'm going to delete that, and then I'm going to let's change some values for our cubes. So we want it, because we made them each 192, I think it was. Let's check. Yeah, 192. We want to change the pixel per unit to also be 192. So let's do that. And then what else do we want to do? We want to. What else do we want to do? We want to change the filter mode to point, and then I think we can apply that, and then that should be it for that. So let's go bring one of those into, yeah, so that looks much better. So I'm more pretty much look the same, but slightly smaller. We'll change the size of the canvas as well, just so that it makes it a little bit bigger. So that's what our cube looks like. So what we're going to do is let's go delete that quickly. We don't need that anymore. So the object of this game is to have kind of, I think we might rotate the camera so that it's like lengthways. What is it called? Landscape, I think. So that we have in our game we will have the blocks or the shapes falling from up here. And they'll be coming down slowly, and what you have to do is you have to rotate them and try and fit them into the other shapes that are already on the screen, so that you form a solid line from one side of the screen all the way to the other. And then once it's full, that line, it will go ahead and disappear, and then all the blocks at the top will fall down one level. So what we need to do now is let's go ahead and see. Does this look good? So this is what our grid is going to look like. So let's just copy that quick, and then does it fit nicely together? Yeah, okay, cool. So that's working nicely. So you can see that if we had multiple of these, like this, I'm doing this in a very difficult way. So this is what our grid is going to look like. We are going to have all of these that are going to fill up the entire screen like this. And then what you have to do is you have to fill these blocks on top of the grid so that you position them where you want, so that hopefully you position them in the right place, and that you eventually fill up the lines. So we need to change the order of these, because obviously we want the grid to be at the back of everything, so that when the new shapes, the colorful squares, come into the scene, you can see them, and yet this one you can't see because it's kind of at the back. So what we have to do is, let's go and delete these quick so we don't need them. We need to create a few things in here. So what we need to do is in our scene, first of all, let's go and change something in our camera. Okay, my lights died. Hang on. Give me a second. There we go. It's bright. So where do we need to do this? We need to change the size of the camera. So it is currently at 5, so let's go and try and make this 13 maybe, and just zoom out a bit. So now if we drag in a square, you can see that it's perfect. Actually, that's a bit small. Let's try and make it, what does 12 look like? Like that. I mean, it's kind of the same, but leave it like that. Okay, My light keeps dying. Give me a second. Let me just plug this in. I probably should have checked this. Okay, I'm back. Hopefully the light stays on now. I plugged it in, so hopefully we don't, or hopefully it doesn't die on us. So this is what the cube looks like now. If we go into our game mode, you can see the cube's quite small, which is what we want. We want to have a grid of these. So I think I think the size of the grid is like, what's it? Let's look it up quick. What's the size of a Tetris cube grid? What is the size of a Tetris grid? 6 by 9. That's a bit small. We might make ours bigger, probably like 10 by 20 or something like that, just so it's a lot easier to play because there's more room on the grid. So what do we want to do now? We've changed the size of the camera. Now we need to add a few things in our hierarchy so that we can, what's it called? What am I thinking of? Can't remember. We need to add a tile map, that's what it is, onto our game so that when we do end up spawning the shapes into the scene, they stick to the tile map. So let's go and do that. Let's go and create a 2D object tile map. It's going to be a rectangle, I think. So we're going to change the name from grid to board, like that. And actually we need to go onto our grid, I think, and change a few things here. So we want to change our wrap mode from clamp to repeat. I think that's pretty much it for here, and we'll save that. Just because only on our grid one, because that's obviously going to be the grid that needs to repeat throughout the board. So on our board we have a tile map that we need to, can't remember if we need to change anything. Okay, so let's see, cell size 1 by 1, cell layout, yeah. So let's go and see. I'm just gonna drag this in here. Where's our tile map? Okay, so that's looking good. So you can see that our grid block is currently the exact same size as our tile map, which is working better than I thought it would, actually, because I didn't think it would be that easy to fix that if it didn't work, but luckily it's working. So this whole screen here is pretty much going to be filled up with these blocks here. Yeah, and then that's going to be our grid. But now what we want to do is we need to go and change the order of these things. So what we are going to have is we are going to have a few different layers. So we will have, how can we do this? Let's say we have our first layer, and then we have, actually, well, how many layers do we have? We need 4 layers, I think. So the first layer is going to be our, it's going to be our grid, because we always want the grid to be at the back. So we will have our grid, excuse my drawings, but this is going to be our grid. You get the point. That's going to be actually at index or at layer 0 rather than 1, and then we have our first layer, then our second layer, and then our third layer. So we actually I don't think we need a third layer. Actually, yeah, we'll get rid of our third layer or fourth layer, but I think it's index 3. So we'll work with our 0, 1, and 2 layers. So obviously the one at 0 is going to be our grid, because we don't want anything to be behind it. The next layer is going to be it's going to be, I think, where we put our blocks. So here we will have our canvas, and then this is where we have our blocks. You place your different color blocks, and then I think on layer 2 we will have an extra feature. I don't know if we're going to implement it in this series, but normally you'd have like a ghost block that you can use, well, not that you can use, but I think in some of the like more advanced Tetris games, you have when your shape is falling down, say you have a shape that's just what, 3 blocks, or I think it's 4 blocks, like that. The ghost mode, I think, if I can remember correctly, I haven't played this game in a long time, but as it's coming down, it displays what it would look like if you place it in that place. So if your shape was coming down in this, or on this, what's called, in this column, I think it is, it would display like a ghost, what's it called, I can't think of a proper name, like what it would look like. And if you rotated it and it suddenly became like this, with the blocks, it would give you a ghost value that would look like this down here, depending on if there is anything there. Obviously, if you have your game that's filled up with all these different blocks, the ghost value would be somewhere up here. But hopefully that makes sense. I don't understand that, so hopefully I hope you did. But let's go and do that. So what I think we can do it in here. So on our sprites, we can go ahead and change the what's called, the order in layer. So let's not do that. Okay. So let's go change the layer of the grid. So for our board, we obviously want this to be on what, I literally just explained it and I can't even remember. I think it's going to be on completely gone blank. The board is going to be at the back, yeah, and then the cubes are going to be on the front. So let's go and do this. So our tile map is going to be where we put all of our cubes. So we're going to put that at 1, and then our board is going to be at 0. So we'll put that at 0, like that. And then obviously when we start working on our ghost, we can actually let's just go do that now. We'll copy and paste that here, and we'll change this board to a ghost, and then we'll put this at 2 for now, I think. So that's obviously going to be in front of the board. We actually let's do this. The tile map, we will change that. Where's order in layer? Order in layer, that's going to be 2. So we'll save that, and then that's fine. That's 1, and then our board is at the back. Okay, cool. So I think that's pretty much, what's the time? We're on for 23 minutes. So I think that's pretty much it for today's episode. It was pretty boring. We didn't really do much other than make the art and have a very, very overcomplicated episode. I apologize for that. But yeah, in the next episode we will actually start setting up the grid. We'll go and layer out our grid using that grid block that we created, that single, I think it was a grey color. We'll go ahead and start repeating that in our scene, so that when we play the game, you can see those blocks filling up the screen. And then I think we will also start working on the script to figure out what shape and size the shape will be. So it's going to use, we're going to create like an array, and we are going to create an enum to determine which square or S shaped or I shaped or L shaped or whatever shape is going to come down next. So yeah, that's it for today's episode. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode, where hopefully it will be a lot more simpler. Hopefully, we can only hope. Anyway, thanks for watching, and goodbye.